My name is Tyrenee and welcome back to my YouTube channel. For today's video, it is a special video for me because today is May 26th and that makes the 1 year anniversary of the live action version of The Little Mermaid. First of all, time goes by so fast. It feels like this movie just came out, but it even feels like it was just announced that Halle was going to be Ariel for this film. But today I basically wanted to revisit this film and just share my thoughts on everything that takes place in the film and things outside of the film, and just look back on memory lane, even though it was just 1 year ago when this movie just came out. But before we do dive into everything, please like, comment, and subscribe. You can visit me on different social platforms. Come say hi and talk about the things that I usually talk about, but just nothing different than I talk about on here. Now, without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into the revisit of the live action Little Mermaid. The only thing we got after that teaser trailer in 2022 was the first poster where Ariel was in the water looking up at the surface. And things had been a little bit quiet after that, but the rollout really started in 2023. February 15th is where we got a short trailer for the 100th anniversary of Disney, and that's when everything started to kick in for the press of the film. March and April was when we got the first full trailer at the Oscars, where Halle and Melissa McCartney made an appearance to present the trailer. And then she looked so gorgeous. I remember she had like this teal dress. It was very Ariel like, and around that time, that's when I would say that photo shoots and interviews really start to kick in. In April 2016, April 26th is when the world got the full version of Part of Your World. Now let me tell you something about this. I did not listen to the whole song at that time. I told myself I was going to wait until premiere night to get the full experience. I will admit that I heard a tiny snippet. I remember when I heard that tiny snippet, I was like walking in the hallway of my home and I literally fell on the floor and like cried. Like the self-control was really strong, but I was like, I want to hear more of this. I didn't. I stopped at the part before she even got to like the climax of the song. So once it got to that point, turned it off. I heard it a couple of times, the snippet, but like before she got to the grand finale of the song, stopped it, because I was like, I waited 4 years for this. I can wait a little bit longer once the movie comes out, because I want to experience it and have all the emotions that I felt for the theater. Let me tell you something. Theaters make the experience. Some movies are better to watch in theaters. Some are cool watching at home, but when you're at the theater in a dark room and it's on the big screen and you're in a room with a whole bunch of strangers, I don't know what it is, but I like that feeling. Whew. Like when you watch a movie in theaters and like your whole personality is like completely different from when you come in, that movie is your whole personality. This movie has been my personality for a year now. Let me tell you something. May rolled around and time was ticking. My anticipation for this movie got higher and higher as each day was rolling by, and it got close to the premiere date. Now, on May 8th, I'm sorry, I cannot think straight today, the world premiere of the film took place at the Dolby Theater. Not only the cast of the film was there, but there was also great people there like Chloe Bailey and Jodie Pinsent, who was the original voice actor for Ariel, and many household names in the Black community also made a special appearance for the blue carpet. Looking at those who made attendance for this premiere really warmed my heart, because it just showed that they were really there for Halle. The backlash was just insane, and I think it warmed my heart even more just to see that Jodie was there embracing her and just showing how super supportive she was for Halle the whole time. And I just wish it gave people a clue. Like if Jodie showed support, the original Ariel showed support for the new Ariel. I just wish that people would just back off. But unfortunately, that was not the case, and I'm so glad that they basically just pushed the hate out the way when it came to that. It was another belief of like basically Disney trying to be woke when it came to Halle being chosen for Ariel, but the director Rob Marshall stated that she was the first person that they saw throughout the audition, and nobody, he said this multiple times, nobody could surpass her. And it was interesting to me how everybody has an issue with Ariel being black, but in past projects Ursula has been black, and even Uma from Descendants is black. Very interesting. I might touch on that topic later, but we're just gonna stay positive and focus on this film here. Anyways, May 26, 2023 rolls around. It was a big day for me. I was working that day. As soon as I got off work, I put on this pink jumpsuit on, put some sandals on, and I headed to that theater. I went with my sister and my mom, and I don't remember if they dressed up, but when it came to this movie, we showed out for this movie like we did with Black Panther. Now, I remember stepping in that theater, and that movie theater was packed that day, and they were showing other movies too. They were showing like Fast and Furious, but that movie theater was packed. I remember seeing all those little babies. They were wearing like different Ariel pajamas and dresses. I remember they had the dolls, and I remember like trying my best not to cry, and I was just like pointing out the little kids that were all dressed up for the movie. I also got a popcorn bucket. I got mine from the local theater, so mine is a little different compared to the AMC. It was like a legit bucket, and it just said the Little Mermaid, and it had like mermaid scales on it. And then I bought the one from AMC. I don't have an AMC theater close to my home, but last year I found out that you could buy popcorn buckets on their site, and I got me the glow-in-the-dark one, 3D kind of like one. But let me tell you something. I've never went to go see a movie twice in theaters. This movie was so good, I had to see it twice. Actually, twice. Comment down below if you remember that meme. That meme was so iconic. Now, fast forward to today. Now it's on Disney Plus, so clearly I've seen this movie 1,000 times at this point, and I have a lot of thoughts that have remained the same from when I first made the review last year, and there's some more that I have gathered. I will say honestly that I wish that the sisters were really more involved in the story. There was a lot of changes throughout the live action, and the changes that have been brought really enhanced the story for what it is. But I think The Little Mermaid is the only movie that I can think of where the siblings of the main character is not involved. And it makes me think about that a lot, especially where the scene where Ariel is obviously on land and nobody knows where she is, and Triton asks the girls to like keep on looking, but you only see 3 of the girls. Now that's not to say the other 3 girls did not look for Ariel, but it just kind of upset me that wasn't there. A lot of rude comments as far as the appearances of the sisters really irritated me too, because a lot of people were just making comments on that the girls might have different moms because of their physical appearances. Obviously none of the girls look the same, and although yes, that can be the case in reality, I don't know, it's just, let's like not focus on that. Now I will say the musical aspect with the Sea Kingdom really should have stayed, and I know that there is a reason why the music held a big part of the entire universe of The Little Mermaid, or the animated version at least. Y'all remember the prequel Ariel's Beginning, where her mom died and basically Triton banned the music from being played throughout the Sea Kingdom, and eventually later on he lifted up that ban. There's a reason for that. So it really sucks that the girls preparing for the musical concert and being a part of it was not a part of the live action remake. And I'm not really too sure, like I understand the choral mood thing, it brings the sisters together, but then again that really, I don't know, that really bugged me too with the whole coral mood thing. I don't have an issue as far as the girls seeing each other for the coral room, but it really makes me think, sisters, I would think they would see each other more because they looked a little bit like teenagers in this film. I know they're a little bit older, and I know Ariel's definitely a little bit older compared to the animated version of the film, but I don't know. I just wish that that musical aspect was still there. And I don't know why, but I didn't pick up on it the first time watching it. But I really do appreciate the change in Ariel's agreement with Ursula, was to give her a scale from her fin instead of signing a contract. A lot of people did point out that it was a plot hole in the original because Ariel could have easily written on a piece of paper that she was the girl that Eric saved and basically lived happily ever after. You know, and again, I don't know why I did not notice how easy it could have been for her until later on. I also do like that Ursula casted a spell on Ariel for her to forget about her goal to kiss Eric to get her voice back, because it brings more conflict to the story, but it also shifts Ariel's focus on her experience as a human rather than rushing a kiss with somebody she hardly knows. I actually remember too when Hallie was doing an interview for a magazine, and she basically expressed that they made changes with Ariel's character more for her curiosity and desire rather than her want to see a man that she hardly knew. And people were complaining. People were complaining about the lyric changes in Kiss the Girl and Poor Unfortunate Souls, which I don't have an issue with because it really teaches children about consent. At this point, I was just really thinking that people were purposely trying to find something to complain about for obvious reasons. But moving forward, I felt like when she decided to disobey her father and go up to the surface, it was shown like her father breaking her items was her breaking point more than her want for desire or want to go see Eric. And yes, like that was the same thing for the film, but I think the shift was more so on like, oh, a guy. Well, there's a guy up there waiting for me, so I'm just gonna go up there anyways, if that makes sense. Now, till this day, Scuttlebutt is my least favorite song from the soundtrack. I thought it would grow on me a year later, but that didn't happen. Sorry, y'all. But I will say that Wild Uncharted Waters definitely grew on me because I think I was so caught up on the sequence that I really did not pay attention to the song itself. Till this day, that sequence reminds me of Zac Efron's performance of Bet On It in High School Musical 2. You know, the running and the jumping and the. Anyways, Eric's desire of looking for Ariel within the song is so beautiful, and the way it carried it out with not only the song but with his portrayal in the film is very wholesome, considering there was not a lot to Eric's character in the film. I did not touch on this on my first review of this film, but I actually admired how they added on to the fact that he had his own room of things that he collected. Mind you, it was a room that nobody hardly went into, even himself. But it seemed as if once Ariel showed interest in it, he was willing to like take the time and show her all the things that he collected from all of his adventures. And I think let me tell you something, it's the little things that make up the relationship that they had. Their dynamic was so beautiful within this live action remake.
Hey y'all, it's Editing Ty here. I'm actually currently editing this video. Well, it's up by the time you guys see it, but I noticed that I missed out on talking about a couple of songs that are in the soundtrack, and that happens to be both of the reprises of Part of Your World. I necessarily don't have any opinions on the second reprise. Not that it's bad. Hallie did her thing per usual. It's a beautiful song with beautiful vocals from beautiful Disney princess. But I did have opinions on the third and final reprise. I'm happy that they changed up the lyricism, and we basically get to hear Ariel's thoughts within a time of distress, because obviously she had grown an attachment to Eric at the time, and we kind of see her feel defeated. And although her main purpose to go to the land was not to solely be with Eric, we do see she feels defeated, and she feels as if there's no point of her of being on land. And it's so short, it's so beautiful. I really do wish we got a little bit more of that.
And when I say the little things, it's from Eric offering Ariel to stay in the castle for as long as she liked, to her showing Eric how to blow into the seashell, to Eric holding on to Ariel when her true identity came out, rather than looking at her like she was a monster and just kind of freaking out from it. And even Eric wanting to go back after Ariel after the defeat of Ursula. It was all wholesome, and it was taken slow too. And I noticed that when Eric leaned in for a kiss during the Kiss the Girl sequence, Ariel was the one that pulled away. In the original film, Ariel was the one that leaned in, but Eric was the one that pulled away. And that made Ariel's goal harder. But in this version of the film, there was true build up to the relationship that we all know and love now. Another thing that I really admired too, that there was a lot of diversity between both of land and sea. I'm not too sure what the culture really was when it came to the animated film, but I do know that the Hans Christian Andersen version of the story was Danish. It really did not feel forced to me when it came to the people on the land and the mer people within the seas. And I say this because I did not notice how diverse the worlds really were until the very ending, showing that how everybody was so supportive of her. I mean, I noticed it, but I did not really think it through. I do have a lot as far as the ending, but I'm gonna save the ending for the last. Let me tell y'all something. Till this day, I still struggle with trying to sing Part of Your World. Now, I'm not a trained singer in any shape or form. I don't want y'all to get that twisted. But there were multiple times throughout the song where when I tried to hit that high note by the end of the song, I end up choking. And y'all probably I know y'all probably gonna think that's funny. But I would choke and cough. And I'm like, nope, let me get some water. I'm gonna give it all to her. And I can also say the same for The First Time, because I admire both of those songs. But back to Part of Your World. I really love what Halle brought to the table for this song. I like this song what it was in the past, but I feel like she made me really, really love this song even more. And I feel like the original version, it's more so of Ariel's wonder and sadness of wanting to venture off in the human world. But the live action, it shows a different side of Ariel. It's more so of frustration and ambition combined with Halle's vocals. For the First Time really does bring an expansion as far as Ariel's experience in the human world, and we also get a glimpse of her inner thoughts and fully experiencing being on land and adjusting to everything within the human world as well. I also want to briefly talk about her two outfits she had on land. First of all, I just want to say I'm actually cosplaying as her with her blue dress and the pink headband. I remember being a little sad at first when I first saw that, because I was really looking forward to like the dark blue dress with the big hair bow, and looking forward to like the pink dress when she first came into the kingdom. But I feel like it definitely fits her more and the culture that was brought onto the live action. The pink dress in the finale also grew on me too, but we're gonna save that for last. Stick with me now. I'm starting to get a little all over the place when it comes to the revisit, but Now that I think about it, I'm a little all over the place with all of my videos. So I do apologize about that. Stick with me now. Stick with me. I think we're about halfway there with this video essay. Yeah. If you're still here, say hi. Now, dabbling back a little more into Eric's character, I'm actually happy that they added a new character important to his story, which is also his mother, and that is Queen Selena, his adoptive mother at that. Very much like King Triton, she is very overprotective about Eric and him wandering out throughout the seas, and fear that she was going to lose her child the same way she lost her husband. We did not see, again, death in Eric's character in the animated film, so this relationship had its value. Like, the only person who was close, well, I wouldn't say the only person, but another person who was close to him, just as Ariel and Grimsey, was her. And she was basically believing that mermaids, or more so the girl that he was trying to look for, was a fantasy girl. And whereas Grimsey, he was actually willing to help Eric find the girl, whereas in the original movie he was kind of like, I don't know this girl if you're looking for. I don't know if she's real, but you need to get married. Like, that's your job. Like, and I'm happy that marriage wasn't necessarily pushed on him into this film too. It was more so of, you need to be here. You need to fulfill your role as soon-to-be king. I will say that Ariel and Eric's day of exploring the kingdom was amazing as well, with the expansion of his world and seeing the environment was very much needed. You can't go wrong with the special appearance of an iconic individual, and that special appearance actually happened to be Jodie Benson, who was, again, super supportive of Halle being Ariel. Jodie giving Halle a fork, it was like her passing down the torch or dingle hopper down. And I remember I had like this Leonardo DiCaprio moment, and I was like pointing at the screen. I was like, Ma, look, because my mom was like about to go to the bathroom. It was so iconic. And the dancing scene, it reminded me very much of Rapunzel Eugene's dance moment in Tangled once they reached the kingdom. But the villagers, thank goodness, they didn't exactly separate them from one another. It was just a joyous time that they had with each other. And leading into this would take us into the Kiss the Girl sequence. I don't have too much of an opinion as far as Kiss the Girl, whether it's a sequence or more so the song. It's never really been my favorite when it came to the soundtrack, whether it's the original or the live action. I will say that it's very unique how Eric discovered Ariel's name, considering that Halle is an Aries in real life. I will say that the sequence, to be honest, was a little bit underwhelming with the lack of sea animals that were involved compared to whereas the original film, Sebastian really had a lot of help. So at this time it was just Sebastian, Scuttle, and Flounder trying to make the kiss happen. And some could possibly argue that having other sea creatures involved might reveal Ariel's whereabouts to her father. So like any sea creature can see and just report it back to Triton, and then, you know, have the search for her cut short. But I feel it had more of magic and that spark to that sequence there, and it just really wasn't there for the live action. Alrighty, so let's actually get in on Ariel's friends. Of course, people were complaining about the appearances of Flounder, Sebastian, and Scuttle. It's a live action, so of course it's not going to look how it did in the cartoon. It's going to look realistically as of how crabs and birds and fish are going to look like. And it's so draining just talking about every single complaint that people had. But it's not like Disney or any other company was going to actually get the actual animals and make them talk and act out what was written on the script. Now that is out of the way, I just want to say I loved Flounder so much in this film, and whoever decided that Jacob Tremblay should be Flounder, I hope they got a raise, and I hope they get all the love and the appreciation in the world, because Jacob was so young during the process of this film compared to now, and he sounded exactly how like Flounder sounded in the cartoon. And I have not seen any of his work outside of this in Luca, which is technically like the boy version of The Little Mermaid, which I think is so cute. But I also want to applaud him because he was so wise, or he still is now. But I remember when he was doing the interview and he was responding to the backlash and just saying that people of color deserve to see themselves on screen. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that was for an interview for the blue carpet of the world premiere of this film. But I love Flounder so much. Y'all can hate me all of you want, but he was just a cutie.
Also, as far as another plot hole I had noticed, in the original Little Mermaid, obviously Ariel and Flounder meet Scuttle up on the surface. In this version, I realized that, why am I just now realizing this? But anyways, I realized in this version, Ariel had never, ever went up to the surface until she saw the fireworks from Eric's ship. So that's sort of another great plot point that plot hole that they fixed. With Scuttle, I don't know what kind of bird Scuttle is in this version here, so comment down below if you do. But with Scuttle going underneath water and talking to them, makes more sense, and it definitely covers that there. But yeah, back to the video.
Now back to the film. I do want to say that Sebastian and Ariel's duet in Under the Sea was cute and all, but I really wish that Ariel had the same amount of lines that she did in Kingdom Hearts 2. Also, I only brought Kingdom Hearts 2 up in this essay just to brag that I heard Ariel singing Under the Sea before a majority of y'all did, and that was in Kingdom Hearts 2. Crazy enough, a lot of people don't know what Kingdom Hearts is, considering that it's a huge Disney property. Anyways, carry on. Let's talk about Vanessa, right? Let's talk about Vanessa. Obviously, they changed the short dynamic of Eric and Vanessa. Rather than Eric rushing to marry Vanessa, they celebrated their engagement right then and there. It was still a little bit rushed, but I prefer a rushed engagement rather than a rushed marriage. Now, as much as I loved Vanessa's trick, I wish they had Hallie sing the full song of the original. I do not know the name of the original song, and I kept trying to look it up when Vanessa was like getting herself ready for the wedding in the ship. Could not find it on Spotify, because I have Spotify. It was just showing like the other songs and like the orchestra soundtracks. So if anybody knows the title of that song, please let me know. But I also applaud Jessica Alexander defending Hallie when a lot of people said that Jessica should have been Ariel instead of her. She was blocking people left and right, and I don't blame her for that. Also, Ariel and Vanessa tussling with each other, kind of iconic, by the way. With the very little screen time that she did have, she did a very excellent job, especially with that screaming. That screaming and that laughing like an absolute maniac. Chef's kiss. I need to see her in some horror or some thriller movies, because and she has like the it girl face too. That is so, she's very like dark feminine. She gives off the dark feminine energy, which is very perfect for Vanessa, and I love that for her. So let's give a round of applause for Jessica Alexander, because she did an excellent job. And she kind of freaked me out when I first watched that, but I was like, this is what was needed. This was what was needed for that role. Transitioning into the finale, what really stood out to me before the huge fight was when Ariel got her voice and she transformed back into human form. I know I just mentioned this not too long ago, but it was Eric that really held on to her when Ursula / Vanessa basically brought her back to her mermaid form. And I really love that the writers changed from Eric fighting Ursula to Ariel being the one fighting Ursula, because she really broke the unwritten rule that a lot of people have on Disney princesses, and that is either you have to be strong to be an important and likable Disney princess, or you have to be in love, and when you're in love, you're basically irrelevant to the general public. Now, Ariel is not the strongest in any shape or form, but it was her fight to begin with, to basically get her father's Triton back, and basically put it into everything that Ursula was going to plan if things did not turn out in Ariel's favor. And after Ursula's defeat, they did add the scene of where Triton basically came back to life. Or, yeah, he can't come back to life. But Ariel was kind of like she had two paths in front of her. She had either go after Eric or go give the Triton to her dad, which was sinking. So she immediately went and got the Triton to give it back to her father. And rightfully so. Now, we know that Ariel and Triton weren't on the best of terms before he destroyed her things and even afterwards. So, Triton thanked Ariel for basically fighting for his life and giving him back what was rightfully his. And she basically told him, like, I didn't do this by myself. Like, Eric helped me defeat Ursula. Side note, I think the change of Ursula and Triton being siblings was a perfect setup for a possible backstory film on Ursula if Disney ever decided to go that route, because I would definitely love to see that. I still haven't seen Maleficent, still have not seen Cruella. But if Disney wanted to make a live action remake on Ursula's backstory, I will be tuning in. Anyways, Triton doesn't really acknowledge that too much of Eric helping her. So he was just basically like, I'm happy that you're safe and, you can come home with this. Fast forward, or meanwhile, Eric just could not give up on looking after Ariel in the ocean. And Queen Selena, she apologizes to Eric just as the way Triton did with Ariel. But we're almost there with that finale. Now, this takes us to the finale where Triton understands that she is not a little girl anymore, and he fulfills her wish by making her human. Now, the two of them reunite, and it takes us to the beautiful finale of the film where the two, our newlyweds, are soon to be off to uncharted waters. Ariel has a new outfit where it's similar to her blue dress, but this time it's pink. And her locks are actually in a ponytail. And before she heads out to the seas, we can see her saying goodbye to all of her friends and her new in-law and just everyone else who was assisting her in the kingdom while she was voiceless at the time. But one person is she looking out for is her father. She doesn't see him at first, and they eventually get ready to head to the ship until someone does stop her. And that happens to be her father. Now, he does briefly acknowledge Eric before he acknowledges his daughter. Another note, I am also sad because Eric and Triton didn't really have a serious interaction with one another. And I know that it wasn't going to be enough time in the film for them to seriously have like serious conversations with each other. But I wish he could have at least thanked him for like helping Ariel and just helping, in a sense, stop Ursula. But back to them, he apologized to Ariel for basically shutting her out and explaining to her that she should have never had to give up her voice to be heard. And he is supportive of her, and the whole kingdom and the people on land is supportive of the two of them with their wish of being a part of his world. And once those two worlds were shown, I got emotional because it was really the music and Ariel shedding a tear, which is basically a callback to the quote in the beginning of the movie where it explains that Ariel did not cry until she was on land because mermaids have no tears and they suffer so much more. Now, I will admit, it was a bit underwhelming when I first saw this, and I really did not understand it for what it was. I, just like many other people, wanted to see her with the silver dress. I wanted to see her in the beautiful wedding dress, like the white gown and the veil, and like sailing off to celebrate their marriage, you know, in the seas on the ship. But rewatching this film more than I can count, I appreciate the ending so much more because Triton takes accountability and apologizes for the wrongdoing of what he did to Ariel. And I noticed in recent films Disney has really been taking that route with movies like Turning Red and Encanto. And although those movies aren't exactly my favorite, I really do appreciate that they're bringing that narrative into films. I'm more into Disney princess films, and I'm delighted that they actually added this to the finale of this film. After their hug, he basically lets his daughter go off with her new husband and sail off to the seas of wild, uncharted waters. And this concludes the long-awaited film of the live-action version of The Little Mermaid. In conclusion of this revisiting of the film, I will say that the movie was worth the 4-year wait. This movie is absolutely beautiful. It will go down as one of the most iconic movies in Black culture and hopefully in history of Disney. And Halle did a fantastic job. I could not think of anybody else who would have been a better Ariel for the live action remake of this film. Alrighty guys, so that is actually the conclusion for today's video. Please do not forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Tell me your favorite moments of this film. Is there something that you noticed that I did not point out? What do you like? What do you dislike about the live action remake? And yeah, just let me know. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today, and I will see you guys in the next video.